Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the COOSPO CS300 GPS cycling computer. COOSPO is well known for their budget-friendly sensors and GPS cycling computers that focus on value. The CS300 is one of their newest cycling computers, which offers a long battery life and customization features not typically found at this price point. In terms of packaging, you can see a nice large box. You have a graphic representation of the computer right on the front, and these cool graphics printed behind it. Specs are printed on the back in multiple languages, as well as the key information. You also have their kind of interesting motto here, all about passion. So go ahead and open this up, we'll go over the specs. So retail price on this is $69.90, so pretty affordable. It's your sub $100 computer with a 2.6-inch screen. It's non-color and it's not a touchscreen, which is not surprising given the price. You have a unique zone display, so it'll actually show the zone here in a radial format, which is something you don't typically see with these types of displays. You have a 1000 milliamp battery with a claimed 40-hour runtime, which is quite a lot, even using the GPS sensor. You have a Garmin quarter turn mount design, so a very common mount that can be used with a lot of third-party accessories. And you have USB Type-C charging, which again, really nice to see for any modern device. In terms of what you get the instruction manual, you get the computer, USB Type-C charging cable, and then you get a very basic handlebar mount. So you can see it's a simple rubber strap design. You get multiple straps. You also get a tether, which is kind of surprising given the lightweight nature of this computer. So simple mount and then 2 of the O-rings to attach it to the handlebar. Now let's take a look at the weight of the computer. So the computer by itself is only 60 grams. And then the handlebar mount with the 2 O-rings, it's all plastic, so very lightweight at only 10. Visually, the COOSPO CS300 has a traditional rectangular shape with rounded corners. It's relatively thin as well, and it has a plastic body. You can see it's a black finish, and you have COOSPO on the front, and then right above the screen. You do have a glossy screen, so you can see it reflects everything. And it's 2.6 inches, so it's quite large given the budget price. On the back side of this, you have some basic safety information, and then the Garmin mount. So use a standard quarter-turn Garmin mount. Use these 2 protruding tabs that you can see here to attach to any third-party mount or the included handlebar mount. We'd highly recommend getting an out front mount, as it lets you place this right in front of your stem rather than being offset like you would with the handlebar mount. It's great to see them use a standardized mount though, because there's a ton of accessories already on the market. Underneath that, you also have a USB Type-C charging port, which again, really nice to see. It's a modern interface, so you can easily charge this anywhere you're at. Even though this is a super light computer, you even have a tether spot here, so this little cutout on the front is where you can attach a tether, which really isn't necessary given how lightweight this is. As far as the user interface, you can see you have a predefined grid, so it's black and white display. It has a backlight, and you can see the backlight actually looks pretty good. You don't see any of the artifacts like you do with really cheap computers where the lighting elements are. The backlight is lit whenever you interact with it, so it stays on for a few seconds. And you can see it has a predefined grid layout, so again, text, icons, everything has a single spot. So it really limits how the user interface can be designed. You have 3 physical buttons to interact with it. You have a nice red power button on the top left, and then 2 buttons on the bottom. All of them have labels as well, so you can see the lap functionality, play, pause, and then the page cycling on the bottom left, or the bottom right. So there's 2 actions with each button. So the bottom right, if I do a single press, I'll cycle through all the available pages. The left button will start an activity, or pause it. So if I hit again, I'll pause. If I'm in an activity, I can single press the power button to do the lap. So you can see it show me the laps, and then I can keep cycling through. If I do a long hold, the power button will obviously turn it on and off. You get these cool little animations too, so they've reused that little ring to do C300. And then the other feature is the saving of a recording. This one is the one you have to be really careful on. So if you want to actually save your recording, you would pause it, and then do a long hold, and that'll stop and save the recording. So you do a long hold to the bottom left. To access the basic setting configurations, you can do a hold on the bottom right. So P1 is to connect to any sensors. P2 will do the time zone. P3 is the diameter of your wheel. P4 is the unit display. And P5 is a power calibration. So pretty simple. And then once you're done with this, you can just hold the button again or press the top left button to get back out of it. You can do more of the configuration on the app as well as the customization of the display. As far as the data layout on the screen, you can see it's very simple. 3 rows, 2 column. You have these vertical line splitters that separate the content, and everything's nice and large. So even from further away, you can read everything as it is a 2.6-inch screen. You do have some basic customization. So each field here can be customized on the app. So you can swap out the elements. And one of the interesting aspects about this is that top row. So you have this radial display here, and you can see these bars here. So these will fill up and they indicate the zone you're in. So it can be speed, power, or it could be heart rate. So you can program what zone is what, and whatever the right data field is, that little radial display will match it. So it's kind of a cool concept, but it does take up some prime real estate. And then in the middle, what you'll see is the lap counter rather than the zone. It's also really hard to tell which zone you're in based on the bars, as there's not a lot of space between them. So they tend to blend together. It would have been nice if it just said zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rather than lap, as the lap count really isn't that important. But it is cool. You can do customization, and it's a unique take on this kind of budget cycling computer design. Now let's set up the C300 computer. You can see simple Garmin mount, so really easy to mount. We have our Topeak UTF mount, but you can use just about anything since it's a generic mount. Single press on the power button turns it on, which is a little bit weird. Normally it's a long hold. And you can see they've done a cool thing with the C300. They reuse the C shape here and put 300 there. You can see it's a kind of predefined grid here. That's what you get with these more budget computers. And then you have a couple controls. So bottom right single press will toggle through pages. Page 2, 3, 4. There's a 5th page, but you can see it automatically goes back to 1. You can re-enable that 5th page if you wanted it through the app. Single pressing the bottom left is the play pause as it's labeled. Gives you a nice little countdown when it's starting a recording. And then you can see I have the play symbol there. And this is actually auto pause enabled. So using the app, you can enable or disable that. But because I'm now moving, it auto pauses it. Now, if you're done with your ride, you have to remember to do a long hold here. So this will save it. There is no discard option. You can just turn off the computer and we'll discard it. So you do have to remember to save it if you want it, or just shut it down. But if you want to do another ride, you'd have to save it and then record again. A long hold on the right one enables the setting menu. Because this, again, a predefined grid, you can see it just says P1. And you have to guess with the icons. This is the sensor connectivity. P2 is time zone, so UTC and your offset. It will automatically determine this based on your GPS the first time you turn it on. P3 is the diameter of the wheel. So you need this if you have a speed sensor. You can easily look up yours or just set a mark on your tire and then do one full rotation. P4 here is the unit. So if you want to change the display unit, you can press the play pause button and that will go into the options and then toggle it with the right button. So this will go through the options. We'll put it back on miles per hour. And then if I'm happy with it and I don't want to go to another option, I just press the top right button. Then I can press the bottom right again to go through the next page. P5 is a power calibration if you have that connected. So if you have a power meter, you would want to do this calibration every once in a while. Once you're done, you can let it time out. Or if you hold it again, you press the top left to go out of it. You can see if I started recording again, you get a nice countdown, 3, 2, 1. You're pretty limited on what you can do here. Obviously, the app will give you a little bit more customization as far as the auto features, and you can see the backlight just turns on when you're interacting with it and then turns off again. To adjust the lap, you see you can press that top left button. For 10 seconds, it'll show you some of your metrics from that lap, and then it will go to the next lap. So you can see now I'm lap 2. By default, it's pretty simple. You got speed, total time, distance. And we toggle through them. I'll show you some of your sensor connectivity, ascent, total distance, gradients, and then even things like average or max speed. The lap is pretty prominent here, and then you can see this radial display, which you have to configure through the app to determine what you want to show. You can show your zones for speed, power, or your heart rate, which is kind of a cool feature. On the top, you have time, the recording status, battery status, and then the GPS status. Once you're done, don't forget to save again, so hold the button. And then if you're happy with that, you can just do a long hold on the top left. Now let's take a look at some riding footage with the computer. As you can see, you first power it up, you get a cool startup animation. It's nice to see at this budget price point. And after that, the GPS status will be shown top left. So here you can see it's still searching for a signal. At least in our coastal location, it loads pretty quickly. So maybe between 10 to 20 seconds. Once it's loaded, the speed and everything will automatically update. You can see we have a cadence sensor connected with this computer. And then to start our recording, we just press the play button, which gives you a 3, 2, 1 countdown. The computer itself has a nice simple layout. Even the time display is minute seconds, as you can see here. And then when you hit the hour mark, it'll switch to hour minute. Everything's well defined. The icons, although they're a little bit on the smaller size with this layout, are still really easy to see. So you can see we have cadence, speed, and everything is pretty simple to differentiate from each other. Our one complaint with this is the zone display. So here you can see we have it set on speed. So as I'm accelerating, I'll switch between zones, and this is based on the predefined zones on the app. You can also customize that. But it's really hard to tell between the bars, so even from this closer up view, the gap between the bars is very small, so it's hard to tell which one you're in exactly, and then you just have to lap count. Otherwise, it's a nice simple computer. Everything updates pretty quickly. We didn't quite get the 40-hour runtime, especially when you have a cadence sensor or other sensors connected to it, and you're interacting with it. But the runtimes are quite long, so we still haven't recharged it, so probably 20 plus hours, which is really impressive to see. You don't get all the mapping features or other features you get the higher end computers, but if you're riding locally and you want to track your data, it's very easy to do with this, and you don't have to spend that much. We also use the Strava connection, so using the app, it automatically uploads it to there, so we can see all our rides in nice details, and all the GPS signal and the data accuracy seems really nice, so it matches the route we took. And very simple to use. So overall, a nice budget-friendly computer that gives you a lot of the higher-end features you need just for normal riding. Now let's take a look at the COOSPO app. As you can see, it has a very simple user interface on the Android system. You have 4 tabs on the bottom, an activity view, which shows you a highlight of the previous recordings. You can click more to see it by calendar, and you can see some stats based on different time durations. The implementation is not bad. Obviously, COOSPO is a smaller company, so you can see the detail isn't quite as nice as Garmin or Strava, and there's little things like a lack of space between history and then the time. But you get the main functionality. Under cycling, that's where you can actually use this as a computer instead of the actual computer, so it'll show you the map view and basic stats. Under device, that's probably the more important one. This is where you want to connect to the COOSPO and do some customization. You can do data syncing, so you can upload all the routes or previous rides on the computer to the app, firmware update, add sensor, and the cooler one is probably the page setting. So here's where you can do the customization. So you can see I have 4 pages currently enabled. I can click page and feel to edit this current page. The UI here is not quite as good as it could be because the little indicator is very small. So what I'm editing here is the top row. If I click on cadence, now I'm doing the middle right, middle left, and then the bottom left, bottom right. You can see each one of them has quite a few options, which you don't typically see with these type of computers. Normally you're just stuck with what you get. Everything's predefined, so you can see on the real device, you're not gonna get that label, but you'll just get a little indicator like auto or just distant. So it's nice that they offer it, and you can switch everything between at least 3 options, so you can really customize it. Under page management, you can adjust which page is where, and then even disable pages. There is a 5th page which is disabled by default. You don't really need it as there's not enough information to really show though. There's auto functionality, so you can do auto lap, auto page turning, and then auto pause, which is a nice one. It'll automatically pause when you're stopped. You can also set up alerts based on anything, time, distance, calorie, heart rate. If you just want a little reminder, those will just be a little beep as you can't really display text here. Under all settings, this is where you can really customize what the zone display is. So you go to My Stats, you can set up the heart rate zone, and you can see there's 5 zones here, so you can set the ranges for each of them. Under power, you can do the same thing. There's 7 zones under power. So it's pretty flexible, and you can come here and really tune it to your actual physical capabilities. Otherwise, pretty simple. You have unit displays here. You have the time format, altitude calibration, and a factory reset. So user interface overall pretty easy, and then you can also, with the COOSPO app, kind of see your overall stats, so total distance, time. You can also do the app authorization, so you can set up Strava, you can connect Strava to it, or Training Peaks to automatically sync data there, and then get more in-depth analysis. And that's about it. So pretty simple, and it's a nice way to set up the COOSPO and customize the data field, which you don't typically see on this type of computer. Now let's do a little comparison between the COOSPO and other computers on the market. When it comes to cycling computers, you typically have the low end, and then you have the high end with the color touchscreens. The COOSPO is on the lower end, but it has a lot more features than your basic computers. Here we have the Cat-Eye Air GPS. You can see very simple. It has this cool click tech button, so when it's actually mounted, you just push down on it, and you can see very limited, small size screen with limited configurability. You can only rotate the bottom display, and that's about it, no real customization, while the COOSPO gives you more options. And you can see it's a nice large screen, so it feels a little bit more premium. We also have the Shannon Max 30, which is actually much larger, so you can see taller display. And with this one, again, you get that fixed grid display. You get more data fields, because obviously a little bit larger. You don't have the radial display, and again, limited configuration as far as what goes where. This is also bigger and a little bit thicker because of the larger size, but the Shannon can connect to their own taillight, which is that little indicator here, and then show the LED color in the bottom left corner, which is kind of a cool feature, but really not that useful. As you go up in the market, you can get color screens. Here we have the IGP Sport BSC 300. So it's a non-touch screen, but you can see you do get a map view, and you get a little bit more data customization. Similar in size. They both have USB Type-C, Garmin mount, and look very similar, but obviously the BSC 300 has more options. They also have the BSC 200, 100, that's a little bit more comparable. Magine has their C606. So it's a pretty simple computer with color touchscreen, $150. So you get map view here as well. And then you also get radial views and more flexibility to expect. The Brighton S800 is even bigger, and you can see a nice thin display. Brighton has their own mount, which is kind of annoying. You can't just use the Garmin one, and you can see much bigger font sizes. And they have the S500, which is a little bit smaller. So I think COOSPO is a nice balance at only $70, and you can definitely get on discount as well. It gives you some of the higher end features, but still retains that black and white simple screen. Now let's go over the pros and cons for the COOSPO CS300. What I like about it, it's very budget friendly. At only $70, you get a lot of nice features. You also have a large 2.6-inch screen, which is really easy to read as it has nice distinct layout and large font sizes. You also have a surprising amount of customization. You can change each of the display fields using the COOSPO app, which is a feature we typically see on higher end computers. The main negatives with this computer is the fact you have to do a manual ride saving. So if you forget that, it will automatically be discarded. Also the fact that the zone display doesn't really add that much value and takes up quite a bit of real estate. Taking everything into account, we'd give the computer a 9.0 out of 10. It's a nice budget-friendly computer with a large screen and simple user interface. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at thesweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at thesweetcyclist. This is The Sweet Cyclist reminding you to enjoy the ride.